it's June. So this means it is June on the Range, and it is the whole of the month of June Western reading for me. June on the Range is a Western reading event that is hosted by Michael Gavon. There are also a lot of other co-hosts. I will link all of their channels in the description box below, so you can check their fun Western videos as well. I can highly recommend you check them out after you've watched this video. This is Obscure Book Adventures. I am your host Annie, and welcome to the Wild West of Jerome Bixby. Bixby wrote the highly entertaining story, a short story or novella, The Draw, for the Pulp magazine, Amazing Stories, and it was in the March issue of 1954. And this is an unusual Western story. It's not your typical Western story, as far as I could tell anyway. Bixby, to explain this, I need to spoil the plot for you a little bit, but not yet. I will warn you in advance when I will discuss spoilery bits of this story. So what's the story about? The narrator of the story is Joe Doolin, and he is just your average Western character who is not only the observer, he's the narrator of this story, and he also plays an important part in bringing this story to a successful ending, as you can say. He lives in a town, and there is this a typically bad adolescent character named Buck Tarrant. He's this 18-year-old young man, and although he is an excellent shot and seems to have it all to become an outlaw gunslinger, and sure boy, does he really want to become an outlaw gunslinger. But he has one disadvantage, or one skill he lacks to become a successful outlaw gunslinger, and that is he can't draw his gun if his life depended on it. He's an absolutely crack shot. When he shoots definitely where he wants the bullet to end up. So that's not the difficulty. But although he really practices his draw, he is clumsy at it, and he's just not fast enough to get his gun out of his holster. And he practices every day, and Doolin often watches him practice on this. But because Tarrant is so clumsy about it, Tarrant becomes the laughingstock of the town. But one day, Doolin watches Tarrant again, and Tarrant rides up to Doolin, and lo and behold, he draws his gun faster than you can blink an eye. And this is really a miraculous thing. He doesn't seem to have a reasonable explanation for it, but as of a miracle, like by a miracle, his gun ends up in his hands, and he doesn't seem to have moved at all. So he must be absolutely the fastest gunman in the West anyway. And that's bad news for the townspeople who laughed at him. Before I go into the spoilery bit of the review, I want to talk a little bit about Bixby's writing style because I enjoyed his writing style very much. We get to see the frustration of Tarrant, who is basically just a big bully, before he found out how to get this fast draw. He was also always picking on people smaller than him and people who were bigger than him or stronger than him or of even equal size. He avoided those. But Bixby also describes the characters very well. And he writes about what makes a character a strong character. He questions the strength of the man with good fighting skills, excellent fighting skills, with the strength of the mind of an intellectual. That's basically what this story is about. What do you value more, the outer strength or the strength of the mind and the knowledge? Bixby's writing style and build-up of the story are absolutely excellent. There is definitely suspense going on. Although the story is set in the late 1800s, well, I'm guessing it's set in the late 1800s, there are definitely influences from the 1950s. This story was written, I think, in 1954. Take this sentence for example. He set his battered old saddle like a Raja on an elephant and held his right hand low beside his hip in an exaggerated gunman's stance. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't see Zane Grey, who was a prolific Western writer, making the same comparison with a Raja on an elephant. But I could be wrong. I'm just reading my first Zane Grey novel at this moment. For June on the Range. So maybe he made comparisons like this. I don't know. But Zane Grey feels old school to me anyway. Not there is anything wrong with that, I must say. There's another thing in the draw which makes this story more modern, and now I do have to get into a little bit of a spoiler. When Buck Tarrant discovered how to draw his gun faster than anyone on the planet, he's out for revenge. And the first one that comes to mind is the sheriff in the town. So he sends Doolin back to town to tell the sheriff that he wants to shoot things out with him. And Doolin does not only do this, he also warns everybody of the fact that Tarrant is become the most dangerous man, not only in the town, but probably in the West, if not in the world. So everybody in town is minding their P's and Q's. Well, that is, if they are brave enough to show their faces, which not many of them do. But as the sheriff still has to arrive on the scene, Tarrant invites Doolin for a drink in a saloon. And after shooting some fishing holes with his 6-shooter in the bartender's ears, he sees a man sitting by a window. And he's the only man in the saloon. apart from a drunk somewhere asleep in the corner. He's the only other man in the saloon. Curious, Tarrant confronts him, but he seems strangely unafraid of Tarrant, although he has seen him draw his gun faster than anyone and shoot holes in the ears of the bartender. This man even seems very interested in Tarrant. This man appears to be a professor of psychology. And now the study of psychology has been around since the time of the ancient Greeks. Plato and Aristotle were amongst them. But somehow I can't place this in the old American Wild West. I've always pictured the people who live in the American Wild West to be of more of a no-nonsense, practical kind of people. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I must confess, I don't know anything, not much anyway, about American history, let alone American history in the old Wild West. So if you know more about it, please let me know in the comments, because I'm very interested in that. From what I can say is that when the story was written in 1954, psychology was a widely discussed thing amongst people and such things. And it was I would not say popular, but it was definitely taken seriously. But it doesn't end there, the story. It appears that Tarrant's fast draw has another origin, this being telekinesis. And although Tarrant doesn't know how it works, he always said from the beginning of the story that he thinks his gun in his hand, and he doesn't actually do the physical action of drawing the gun from his holster. And from the professor, he learns what telekinesis is. Well, it's the ability of moving objects without physically moving them, without physical effort. So by thinking the gun in his hand, Tarrant is moving the gun without touching it. There is no actual evidence that there is such a thing as telekinesis. There have been multiple experiments done trying to prove it, but it's also always been criticized as for the lack of proper controls and repeatability. I'm not going into detail about all of the telekinesis details, but personally it doesn't bother me that it is in this story, in the draw. I think it's brought as believable. The main action depends on it being reality, and that also includes the end of the story, by giving the end an extra twist. Well, it's not really a surprise, but it gives the story a second ending, if you get what I mean. And that ending feels very satisfying to me. Looking up more information about telekinesis, I found out that Bixby isn't the first one to implement this in his in a fictional story. telekinesis has been around in comics since the birth of Superman, maybe even before the birth of Superman. I must admit, I don't know. But I found out that in 1952, so 2 years before Bixby wrote the Draw, Jack Vance wrote the science fiction novella Telek. So maybe Bixby wasn't the first one to incorporate telekinesis in his stories, but maybe he was the first one to put it in a Western? Could be. But then again, I'm thinking of all of those dime novels that sometimes had a science fiction element in them. I remember reading, not the actual dime novels, but reading about the fact that there were robots in dime novels. Well, they were steam-powered robots, but that was sort of science fiction-y. So could be that maybe in a dime novel there was telekinesis? I don't know. If you know, I would love to hear from you. Because it really makes me curious about the subject of telekinesis in fiction. Maybe I'll make a special video about that somewhere in the future. I do, of course, know of modern telekinesis in modern fiction. Of course, Carrie by Stephen King. Matilda is, I think it's by Roald Dahl. Also, I had telekinesis in it. Star Wars, I think it has telekinesis in it. But I don't have any knowledge of telekinesis in old fiction, pre-1950s. I have no idea. So if you know more about it, I'd love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, as this really helps this video. More people get to see this video. Please go to the description box below and check out the videos of other booktubers and co-hosts of June on the Range, and watch their videos as well if you are interested. So yeah, thanks for watching.